You're listening to the Full-Time Hustle Podcast, an audio resource about life and business. Geared towards the creative entrepreneur, Full-Time Hustle is all about sharing time-tested methods and tips about everything small business related. From sales and marketing, all the way to accounting and client interaction, Full-Time Hustle covers everything you want to know about how to get things done. Turn your side hustle into a full-time hustle. For more resources, visit us online at fulltimehustle.net. Today's episode is brought to you in part by 17 Hats. 17 Hats is the premier online-based small business management software that does everything from invoicing to books to even keeping track of your contracts. Do what you do best and let 17 Hats do the rest. To get 10% off your first subscription, visit 17hats.com/card/full-time hustle. That's 17hats.com/card/full-time hustle for a free 17-day trial and 10% off your first subscription. Or simply apply the coupon Full-Time Hustle in your account settings. Thank you for listening, and we hope you enjoy the show. Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is where you are. We just want to say, hey, this is Josh and Susan.
Hi.
And we are here to tell you about us today. This is where you get to know us.
Yeah.
And so, Susan, dive right in.
All right. So when I was about 3 years old, I'm kidding.
So much fun.
I mean, it is important, I guess, for people to know. We grew up in the mountains in North Carolina, the Appalachian Mountains.
I grew up in Asheville. You grew up in Waynesville.
Yep. Which is just decidedly not Asheville.
Yep.
But I mean, it wasn't the smallest town in the world, but it was kind of out there. But I was the fourth out of 5 kids. So a lot of people in a small space, and we had lots of animals. Mm-hmm. Some would say I grew up on a farm, but
you basically did grow up on a farm.
But we didn't farm. Like, they were all our pets. We had like 30 pets, like goats and chickens, and it was cool. I loved it.
Yeah, it was. But
you grew up in the city.
I grew up in the city-ish. I mean, like 5-minute drive to downtown. So that's pretty much the city. And it was just me for a long time. And then...
well, it was you and your mom.
It was me and my mom, yep. And had a half-sister when I was 7 years old. And then another when I was 14 years old. And now I'm 33. But when I was 31, my parents adopted. And I've got now another younger sister. We're 31 years apart. It's crazy.
So you are one of 4 children, but you grew up as an only child literally until you were 14.
Pretty much, yeah.
Because one of your sisters lived in another state.
I know.
So it's kind of funny to think
about.
It
is. It is. I feel like I got the best of both worlds. I got the only child experience, and I could be like, yeah, I've got the sister.
It's just a man with all these sisters. Yeah. Anyway, so we met. I was 17. Josh was 19. We met at
the Asheville Mall. Because where else?
Did. I was on spring break my senior year of high school. And I'm laughing because, I don't know, like if I knew someone who was 17 right now that told me this story, like I met this guy, I would be like, this is a terrible idea.
To run. It's not, the mall's not where you want to be meeting your spouse. I mean, for the most part.
I mean, it's not bad. Anyway, it worked out for us.
It did.
We met. It was not love at first sight. Mm-hmm. We had a great conversation.
It wasn't love at first sight?
No, it wasn't. You didn't think it was either. You didn't make any moves.
Okay, I didn't. You're right.
So I was with a friend, and we left the store. Josh was working.
We were
store.
talking. We spent like a good half hour talking. I wasn't even supposed to be working that night.
Yeah.
And you came in the store and you were
brightened your day
shopping for jeans.
He told me I was skinny, so that was kind of a win.
Yeah, but we talked for a while, and then you guys left, and I pretty much thought that was it. I mean,
me too. I didn't think anything else of it because you don't meet people at the mall. Like, you joke about it, but you don't actually do it.
Right.
But my friend, we got to the food court, and she was like, you and that guy really hit it off. You should go give him your number. And I was like, ooh. So we went back and forth like high school girls do. And by the end of it, like, I was like, please go give him my number. I'm too shy. And so then she had to talk me into giving him my number. And then I had to talk her into actually doing it for me. And she did, 'cause she was a great friend. And so she went and gave him my number. And this is like the part where I started to like really like you.
Okay.
She said that you asked if I was a Christian.
Yep.
And I was like, oh.
It was important to me.
Yeah. And I love that it was important to you because that was really important to me. And so that was really just kind of like what made me like really start to like you a lot. And then you didn't call me for a couple days.
Yeah, well, wait a minute. There's one piece in there. After you guys left the mall.
Oh, I forgot about this.
You went to eat at Chili's.
Oh, yeah. No, I was talking about you threw my number away
Oh,
and
I
your
did.
coworker dug it out of the trash.
Yep.
Because he loves me, guys. Josh loves me
He
so
was like,
much.
well, here's the thing. We weren't supposed to take numbers from people. And not that I'm a huge rule follower, but I didn't think anything
He
about
never
it.
follows a rule in his life until this day.
So I tossed the number, and my friend at the time that I was working with there dug it out of the trash and was like, you should give her a call. She seems pretty great.
You said that he said I was hot. 17-year-old Susan was pretty good looking.
Yes, she was.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
1-year-old Susan looks good too.
But at any rate, yeah, so me and my friend went to Chili's to eat afterwards, and I guess I was daydreaming. I'm not much of a daydreamer, but I guess I was. And she goes, Susan, it's fine. He's going to call, and you guys are going to fall in love and get married and have lots of babies. And I just kind of laughed, but I was like, what if that really happened? And, well,
A version
here we
of
are.
it happened. A version of it happened. We didn't
Turns
have
out I'm
lots
not,
of babies.
Well, I don't know. I mean, our lives are young.
Yeah, it could happen.
Anyway, he did call me a couple days later, and I immediately got grounded because my parents were kind of freaking out that I met this guy.
Pretty smart move on their part.
It was a really smart move, but they didn't ground me from the phone, so we got to talk on the phone together,
Yep.
and we did for a week.
One
and then
night we talked for the duration of the night. We
entire night.
Started around 9 or 10 o'clock and finished
My
up
parents
about
don't know
6 or 6:30 the next morning. And we were like, well, I guess it's time to go to school. And I was like,
yeah.
I guess I got to go to work.
Yeah, that was crazy. I can't believe we did that. But yeah, then we started dating, and that was it. I mean, the next month you officially asked me to be your girlfriend, and then 2 years later we were married. So I was midway through college at that point. But it's kind of neat because Josh was there for my high school graduation, my college graduation. I did, and yeah, that's always the big question: is she going to finish college? I'm a very determined person. I not only finished, I finished early
If I'm
because
not
I just wanted to get on
mistaken,
with life.
I feel like your mom and dad were like, you guys can get married, but they said that I think they said if they're going to pay for it, we got to wait until you're done.
No, they said that we could get married. But they weren't going to pay for any more college,
Oh, okay.
which is super reasonable. And
Yeah.
I was like, well, we'll figure out something.
We'll just get married anyways.
But I mean,
they're
I had
awesome.
a really good scholarship.
And they did it anyways.
But yeah, my parents did cover what wasn't covered by the scholarship. And so that was a huge blessing.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to our stories. We got married. And then we lived in my hometown for 2 years. I never intended to leave my hometown. It was great. I had everything I needed there, and there was no reason to leave.
And when we got married, I owned an incredibly successful business. It was as an enterprise. I'd call it an enterprise. And we had a fleet. We had a fleet of one truck and one trailer and a pressure washer. And we did commercial pressure washing and detailing cars.
Yeah, that's a really long-lasting business, right? You still have that?
I don't have that anymore. Unfortunately.
So Josh is, between us, I would say you, Josh, are the like entrepreneur type.
Yep.
And I'm like the anti-entrepreneur type.
I know.
My number one goal in life, I didn't know what I wanted to do in college, but I knew I did not want to own my own business. I watched my dad. He's owned his own business my entire life. And he loves it. And I was like, that's great for him. That's way too much work. I have no desire to do that. That looks like a constant headache. And here we are.
But me,
turns
on the
out I
other
love it.
I'm like, hey, this is the perfect way to make a great life. So let's just have this amazing enterprise. And thanks to me, we have this amazing. I'm
Okay.
kidding.
Josh is like really joking hard about this. This thing lasted, I don't know, months maybe. He wanted to buy a truck, and I was like, no.
Around like right underneath a year.
And
that was
so
that.
I run business very differently than that. And I
Yep.
think you've come a long way in the past however many
And
years.
it was,
it's been.
I mean, it was a good thing, but it was supplemental. I was leading worship at a church and then leading worship at another church. And this was just something that helped us out.
Cool.
But it taught us a lot. It really did. But after working at the church for a couple years, we ended up moving to Atlanta, Georgia. Let's talk about Atlanta. Atlanta's your favorite city ever, yeah?
We moved to Atlanta right a month before this recession hit in 2008. And so I feel like our experience was a little different than most.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we were young and we were living in Atlanta, but we were doing anything to pay our bills. And I mean, we'd worked lots of different jobs. We found jobs on Craigslist. We did.
We
worked all day,
delivered
every day.
pizza. You were a nanny.
Yep.
Yeah, and all that was fairly quick because you ended up getting a job downtown, right?
Yes, I got a job at a sales and marketing firm, and I'll be honest, it wasn't the best suited job for me in the world, but it was a place that at least there was opportunity. And I got just offered 2 jobs the same weekend, and one was like regular pay, part-time hours, and one was full-time, and it was straight commission. And I cannot believe I went for the full-time and straight commission, because at least if I worked harder, I would be able to make more money. And I knew that I could work really, really, really hard. And I don't regret it. That was, I would say, probably one of the best decisions, because that job ended up, you started working there too.
I was going to say, it was so good that you ended up mentioning it to me.
Yeah.
That there was some availability, and I ended up going to work there. Mm-hmm. And
we worked a lot.
We
But
did. And I think we
learned a lot of sales.
Yes,
there,
that's what I was going to say.
And marketing, and how to interact with people, and how to hang out in groups that we weren't necessarily, it wasn't our normal crowd. Mm-hmm. Most everyone that we worked with weren't married. They were like young, single, straight out of college. And that was just not the life that we had. I mean, we didn't have kids at that point, but it was just a different crowd. But we made a lot of really great friends during that time. And that job ended up moving us to South Carolina, which I loved. Greenville, South Carolina is one of my favorite places in the whole world.
It's like the coolest thing.
Yeah, like living there we lived there 1 year, but it was really, really, really great. There was a sushi place across the street from our house.
I would tell anybody listening to this right now, if you're within 100 miles of Greenville, drive there, go to this sushi place Susan's talking about, which we don't know the name.
It's on Haywood Road.
Go to the Lazy Goat.
The Lazy Goat was amazing. And then we would get sushi. It was $2.50 a roll during happy hour. So we'd get 4 rolls.
It's insane.
And we would go eat downtown, and there's this waterfall and the suspension bridge and a park downtown. Yeah. And it was just awesome. It was before we had kids, and it was just a really great time to just kind of live a little bit more relaxed than we'd lived in Atlanta. And that was great.
And something really, really, really big happened for us in May of 2010. That's when we lived in Greenville.
Yes, that's when we got debt free. That's when we paid off the last of our debts.
Yep.
And we had a little bit of extra money, and you bought 2 suits.
Yes, I did. And you ended up buying a professional camera, a DSLR.
I did.
Yep.
I wouldn't call it professional, but
it was close. I mean,
it had manual mode, and that was the beginning of our business. I mean, yeah, it was like I bought a camera, and I was like trying to take photos instantly. And I wish I had all the photos that I took, like practicing on like the squirrel outside and the dogs and you. And I remember being so frustrated. I'm like, why is everything blurry? And like I would Google everything and ask friends and just be thirsting for knowledge in that area. And so it wasn't not too many months after that we started the business. I want to say
you got the camera in May, and I think your first session was like in July.
It was. My first session was on the 4th of July. And I mean, guys, I didn't charge for this, but they ended up
getting a gift card.
They gave me a $25 gift card to, I think Starbucks. I don't know. I was on top of the world. I was like, Josh, they gave me a gift card. And he was like, that's awesome. That's really nice. And I'm like, you don't understand. Like I was doing this for free, and they paid me. And yeah, so
there's something to this. Maybe there's.
I know. I mean, it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed playing around with it, and just did a lot of different kinds of sessions. But then that was July, and then in November of that year is when Josh was interviewing with a church up here in Virginia, and December 1st he started at that church. So we had like a quick move, a drastic move. I'd actually settled in a different job down in South Carolina that I really loved. Oh my goodness, I loved it. But I gave it up because I love you, and
I love you too.
We just felt like it was the right choice to move up here, and so
I started that job like right at the end of 2010, and so moved up here. We worked at the church, and then we had a baby.
Yeah.
And you're working your business.
Yeah. We had our daughter Hazel. You can't gloss over that part.
Yeah, it was a big deal.
She's amazing. She's 6 now.
Gosh.
So, yeah.
And I know she's 6. It's just crazy to
she's right at 6. She's awesome. She's an exact mix of the 2 of us. She got all of our best personality traits. Like, I don't think I don't know.
I'm sure she's going to be on the podcast at some point.
Oh, absolutely. She might have her own podcast. She could probably do this way better than we can. Yeah. Absolutely. And then I just continued growing the business. I did marketing for a company on the side just as a part-time job. I had a really open and honest relationship with them as far as like, hey, I'm building my business, but I would love to do this in the meantime. And they were on board, and they were big supporters of our business. And we just really had a great community here that just became like our family, because our family all of a sudden lived 8 hours away, and this is all we had. And so we really made so many friends that are just like family to us. And that's amazing.
Something else that was born that year is the video part of our business.
Oh yeah.
And
oh my goodness. At the end of that year.
Yeah. And so that's,
oh my goodness. Those were some hard times.
Kick-started into a completely different
Well,
direction.
I had a 3-year plan for our business that the first year we would invest money into it. The second year it would be self-sustaining. And then the third year we would begin to pay ourselves. And that third year when I was like, cool, we can start to pay ourselves, that's when Josh was like, I'm going to do video. And guess what? It's very expensive to get started in video. Just to kind of get the basics. It's just a lot of stuff. And so that's where all of our profits went. And so it took a couple more years to kind of build that up to where we were making a profit. But that's when that takes us to like 2015, when we really felt we were working very hard on all cylinders. You were basically doing 2 full-time jobs.
I was.
And we knew something had to change.
We had to make a decision about what we were going to do. And I really felt like God was leading me to just focus on our business and for us to do this together full time. And so in October,
we can still volunteer at the
Absolutely.
church, and we're still very active members there. But October 2015 was your September was your last day. And we felt it was so weird because it was hard to explain to people why we made that decision, because they were like, what are you doing? Like, are you moving away? Like, what's going on? And we're like, we just feel like this is what we're supposed to do. And then, so that was October. And then in January 4th, we found out what that thing was that we felt like we were supposed to do.
So January the 4th,
yes,
we found our son, Zane online.
I was at Starbucks scrolling through Facebook. Working, but also scrolling through Facebook. And I just saw this cute little kid. And I was like, oh,
well, a friend posted his picture.
Yeah, a friend posted this picture.
And she said something really specific about it.
If I can remember, she
was
said,
like, look in this kid's eyes.
Look in his eyes and ask God if he's yours. Oh, if you've ever considered international adoption, look into his eyes and ask God if he's yours. And I was like, me and Josh have talked about adoption since before we got married. And where we did land was that, yes, we absolutely want to adopt. And we probably want to do it either locally or from like Central America or Mexico, somewhere around there.
I'd been to Mexico and saw the orphanages, and I really had a passion.
And I was like, great. I'm not super passionate in any direction, just that we should adopt. And we had some friends a couple years before that had adopted internationally and a child with special needs. And me and Josh had an honest conversation with each other. And we were like, that's just not our calling. And that's fine. Like, we support them 100%. That's just, if we're going to have a real conversation with each other, that's actually not what we feel that is part of our life.
I remember watching their process. And I'm almost positive, like almost 100% positive that I said to our friend, I was like, hey, I'm glad that you did that. I'm glad that's something you feel called to do. I could never do that. I could never do a special needs adoption. Definitely not international.
So in case you haven't figured out by now,
did a
Zane,
special needs international adoption.
And his special need, it's funny because to us it was just no big thing. He just didn't have an esophagus, and
it's no big deal.
That's a huge deal. That's missing an entire organ of your body that you use all day long. But to us, we were like, it's surgically corrected. That's totally fine. And we just, at the end of the day, we just knew he was our son. And so,
so we spent really all of 2016 getting ready for that. We were getting a home study and raising
all that
funds
crazy stuff.
And everything that you need to do.
We fundraised like almost the entire adoption. Because like I said, we have a really, really, really great community here of friends. And so then in January of 2017, we brought him home. It was really cool. We got to all fly out. He's from Bulgaria, and we got to all fly out there with our daughter and all 3 of us.
That's a lot.
It was insane.
Yeah. And when you take a, 4-year-old, just not
She
quite
had just
5.
turned 5.
Oh, she just turned 5.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was a big undertaking.
It was big, but it was really cool. It was neat to show ourselves that our family could do that. We could survive in a foreign country with a child that we barely knew. I mean, because we barely knew him, and he had major medical needs, and like it was just my goal to get through the week without going to like a hospital in a foreign country, because I just didn't even know. I didn't know anything. I didn't even know how to explain his anatomy because no one knew his anatomy. And so that's a really big deal when you go to the hospital. And so anyway,
so
we brought him home. And then this past year, we've just focused on getting him healthy. He has an esophagus now. We took 2 months
I was going to
off
say,
work.
Collectively, we really have almost taken about 5 months off between the two of us. If you look at us going over there to pick him up and then reacclimating and then traveling to Boston and taking time off for the surgery.
His surgery was in Boston. So when we first got home, we took 2 months, which was our slower months. We took February and March, and we each worked about 10 hours a week, which isn't very much for an entrepreneur. And then in July, Josh actually stayed in Boston the entire month. And then I was up there most of the month. I had 2 weddings that I had to fly back for. And so it was a crazy year. We are kind of workaholics. Like, we enjoy work.
We do.
And like, we definitely enjoy family time, and we try to maximize both. But it was interesting that we were able to take that much time off work and still keep a business running and pay our bills. And I mean, it's a real testament to the financial plan that we've like worked for years and years. We're big Dave Ramsey fans. And I mean, it works. Like, if you plan it out, you can do just about anything you want to do.
It really does. And I think for us, like, we're really, really passionate, not necessarily about what we do, but about what we do allows us to do. So, like, does that make sense?
No.
Okay, so it's not. We're not passionate necessarily about photo and video.
Oh,
so much. We like it. It's a great bonus that we get to do that.
We love photo and video,
but those are just means to an end, because what we do allows us to control our time, and it allows us to control our income to a big degree.
Yes.
And so if we get to share our experiences and share what we've learned, and it can help someone, that's a huge, huge win for us. And that's the big reason that we're doing this podcast, is so we can share what we've learned, and hopefully you can grow from that.
Absolutely. And, taking it back to kind of full circle, like when we lived in Atlanta, we would always have to talk about our goals. And it was so hard for me because, everybody's like, oh, I want a house at the beach and a house in the mountains. And I'm like, I just want to be with my family and spend time and snuggle and stuff. And now we get to do that. And we love doing photo and video, and we loved hanging out with people and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, the reason we do what we do is so that we're able to spend quality time with the people that we love. And we'll do anything in order to be able to do that.
Absolutely. So I hope this has given you a good rundown about who we are. This is really just barely, breaking through the surface. Susan and I, we're very, you're going to hear the word eclectic, I think, a lot, but we're eclectic and complex, and there's a lot of layers to us. And I think that's going to come out over the course of this podcast. But thank you so much for listening. I know that, we're going to cover a lot of ground, so stay tuned. We've got a lot of episodes coming up, and we will talk to you guys soon.